Hey everyone, it's Kim and welcome back to Bookmarks and Breadsticks. I apologize, this is not my normal video setup. I'm actually shooting from my new Pixel 6 because partially I was just curious to see how the video footage was gonna come out, so I thought I'd give it a go. I am between meetings and it's a crazy week, and I realized I hadn't even given you guys an update on my first week of Nonfiction November. I thought about vlogging this experience, but really thought book reviews are what you guys want to see more of on this channel, so consider this weekly recap a book review of two different books that I read during week 1 of Nonfiction November. The first book that I want to talk about is very short, and it is called Tiny Moons, A Year of Eating in Shanghai by Menya Powells. So this book comes in at just 85 pages, and it's definitely almost like food poetry. The chapters are very short, and they are a collection of essays about food and belonging. And it's about Nina, who she travels quite a lot, a year in Shanghai, quite obviously. But just for the back, I'll read the back cover for you. Tiny Moons is a collection of essays about food and belonging. Nina Menya Powell's journeys between Wellington, Kota Kinabalu, and Shanghai, tracing the constants in her life, eating and cooking, and the dishes that have come to define her. Through childhood snacks, family feasts, Shanghai street food, and student dinners, she attempts to find her way back towards her Chinese-Malaysian heritage. It is actually labeled on the back as a food diary, and this was just such a cute delight to read. It's called Tiny Moons because the dumplings that she constantly talks about in this book makes her think of tiny moons. It was so lyrical and so beautiful, and it made me want to go on a trip with Nina. I loved, there were just, she had such great articulation of these moments of riding on her bicycle, coming home from class late at night, and stopping in to these street food stalls or these little vendors asking for just a simple bowl of dumplings or a simple bowl of soup, and it was so nice. And I highly recommend it. It took me a while to find this book. I actually had to get it from Amazon UK, I think, to actually get a copy, and I'm so glad I did. It's so charming, it's so sweet, and now I follow the author on Instagram. The second book, and the book I wanted to spend the most time talking about, is I have finished Stanley Tucci's newest book, his memoir, called Taste: My Life Through Food. So this book is an October 2021 release, and it came to a total of 200 and oops, sorry about that, I just dropped it. This book comes in at 280 pages. It is an October 2021 release, and it is phenomenal. I also love the inside cover art. So first, I have to say that I listened to this as an audiobook because Stanley Tucci narrates his memoir. I always say that if you can get a memoir or a book where the author narrates their own work, you have to give it a listen. I love Stanley Tucci. I have adored Stanley Tucci since he played Julia Child's wife in Julia and Julia. And listening to him talk about his life through food was amazing. I actually didn't realize he was so deeply connected to food. Stanley Tucci has written a couple of cookbooks with his wife, Felicity Blunt, who is a publisher. You learn about her very late in the book. And he also has a documentary series all about Italian food, and he travels throughout it. So I have a much greater appreciation for Tucci's love of food. I had no idea. He is Italian-American. He grew up in a typical Italian-American family with his life around the kitchen. He grew up in New York, so a couple of his references I really appreciate. I was like, I know that area. I am not from New York City. I'm from Long Island, but a lot of this really runs through. And I think there were so many personal anecdotes in here. And yes, Tucci loves to name drop, and he knows he names drops, and it makes it so much funnier where he's like, Ryan Gosling is a wonderful man. But really he is. And then he'll be like, I'll be back. I mentioned some names. We'll get back to them later. And it's so funny. He really, it's a charming, beautiful story. And it's also quite sad at times. I did not realize that Felicity Blunt was actually Stanley Tucci's second wife. A good portion of the book is really more about his relationship in food with his first wife. And I'd say probably maybe the last 25% is about his life with his new wife, Felicity Blunt, and their children. So at this point, Stanley Tucci has stepchildren, children from his first marriage, and now his second marriage. and the role of food between all of these different children and his wife, his late wife as well. Oh my gosh, it was stunning. There is some warning here. I was not expecting this, but I did not know that Stanley Tucci actually battled cancer in the last 2 years. He actually had a tumor growing under his tongue and lost the ability to taste for a little while, and at one point was eating absorbing nutrients through a food bag attached to his stomach. So I did not know that going in. As someone who just lost my dad to cancer in January, it was a little disarming, honestly, but he handles it with such grace, and he talks about it in such a gentle way. He actually lost his first wife to breast cancer. So their cancer is going to be talked about in this book, and if it's a sensitive topic for you, just approach it, with caution. I think Tucci is a very gentle narrator. He's very lyrical as well. I love that every chapter has not only an anecdote about food, but the recipes are at the end. But I also love that when Tucci's talking about his favorite things that he wants to eat, you can hear it. If you were in the recording room with him, you hear him just throw back his head and go, "Fuck, it's so good." And it just makes me laugh because I've definitely had food experiences like that where I just throw my head back and think, "Oh, it's so good. I would kill to have that dish again." I honestly, in terms of critiques or anything about the book comes in about 6 hours on an audiobook. The only critique I really had was that I wanted more time with his new family, or his new family, with Felicity Blunt. I felt like we spent 80% of the book through his childhood and his relationship with Kate, his first wife. And no, he was married to Kate for 10 years up until her passing. So I'm not trying to belittle that part of his life at all by any means. But I wanted more with Felicity Blunt as well. He just casually mentions things like writing the cookbooks or filming the TV show. He goes more into depth about filming the documentary series than he does about writing the cookbooks. And I would love to understand how he and Felicity wrote the cookbooks, because Tucci is Italian American, but Felicity Blunt, she is from London, where he now predominantly lives with his children and his wife. He lives in London now. He's not part of the Hollywood scene. And I just wanted a little bit more of that, but hey, if that means that Tucci's going to come out with another book in a couple of years, sign me up. I really wish I had gotten this autographed. I'm so bummed that it wasn't. I mean, you can see that the artwork he did in the inside has his name at the bottom, but it's a printed signature. But all in all, this was a delight to read. The chapters, it does go largely in chronological order of Tucci's life, but I like that each chapter is just a story, whether he's in the mountains filming one movie, or working, or talking about how he got into writing and producing his own movies as well. I also enjoy that Tucci likes to poke fun at himself. He'll admit when his movies have been flops, and I appreciate someone who's humble and grounded like that. That the most important things in Tucci's life are his children and his wife. I really love a grounded man, despite a lot of great success he's had. I forgot about some of the movies he did, like, was it Lonely Bones, about the little girl? Or like Tucci playing a villain and what it is like to live and wear the mask as the villain and then take it off later. Other moments and tidbits in the book I really enjoyed is that Tucci talks about how he always brings 2 Nespresso machines on set. One to give to the makeup department because you sit in their chairs all the time and you want them to be your friends, and one for his own cabin. Or some of his best relationships with directors is because he knew how to make a martini or a Negroni. And that's one thing. I don't drink, but I really appreciated the level of detail that Tucci gave about the different drinks and cocktails he has come to love, why they're important, but also how they're made. And I just loved this book. It was one of my most anticipated reads of the year, and it did not disappoint. So I highly recommend, if you have a chance, to pick up Stanley Tucci's new book, Taste, My Life Through Food. I have a link to it down below in my description, and that is my affiliate code through bookshop.org. Obviously, with bookshop.org, if you use the link, I will receive a small commission, but some of your purchase does go to support small independent bookstores as well. These are the 2 books I have read for Nonfiction November, week 1. I am currently in the middle of reading Matt Siegel's book, The Secret Life of Food, And I probably will pick up a fiction book after. I need a little bit of a break, but I'm on pace to read 2 books a week throughout this month. And I will continue to be posting about it on my Instagram channel. If you haven't been following me over there already, I would love for you to do so. And if you haven't already here, I would love for you to hit like and subscribe so you can find all of my new bookish content. I realize that my voice is very hoarse. I apologize. I post new videos every Tuesday and Saturday. I also have in the description links to my Patreon and to my subscription boxes, Read It and Eat, that is a bookish and foodie subscription box with the ultimate goal of doing good by fighting hunger. I hope you are well. I hope you guys forgive a little less than my normal production level of videos, but I wanted to get something out. It's a Tuesday, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.